So, welcome to our YouTube channel, and we just want to sort of say hello to you guys and bring up the conversation about the brand new Sony a7rv. With me I've got Brett Harris, and Brett Harris brought his camera with him, and as you might know, Brett is also a Sony advocate. So Brett, tell me, what do you think about this camera?
Pretty good, actually.
Yeah?
Actually, I've only, as you know, I only dressed up a couple of days ago.
Yep.
So, but so far, out of the days I've been using it, it's been really good, really good.
Yeah.
Loving the U screen, obviously. The best feature about the U screen.
Yeah.
Flipping out the side and so forth. That is a real welcome to any of the cameras, I believe. So forth. So
yeah. So as I'm saying now, we're recording with the a7 IV and the a7 III, and the a7 IV is very much the same type of body as what you've got with the a7R5 now, except you've actually got the flippy screen now that actually flips wide out, and it also flips up, so you've got all the angles covered that you'll ever need in your life. I mean, it's a very nice screen, and we already had a play with it earlier on. And so overall, I mean, what do you think about the ergonomics and the Evf?
Evf is fantastic. It's what you're going to expect, right, from the A1.
Yep. Like it's the Evf is sort of like, it's almost like we were looking through a window. It's very, very, very clear, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's wide viewing.
Yeah.
Anybody that's shoot the A1 would know what we're talking about. So I don't think it's wide as the it's wide in the a7 IV.
Oh, the a7 IV doesn't quite have the resolution as what this Evf has.
But one thing I have noticed, like going from an a7 III,
yep,
it's a total.
It's a bee's knee, isn't it?
You know.
Let's face it.
Yeah, but no, when you're bird shooting or anything like that, you got no problems. Yeah.
Yeah. So bird and wildlife shooting with this camera is really nice. I mean, it captures the bird straight away, which I've done. I've captured a few bird in flight. But
you
also,
had a go this morning at it.
Yeah, that's right. The only handicap this camera has got is 10 frames a second.
10 frames a second. Yeah.
So 10 frames per second, but it's still doable as a wildlife camera.
Yeah.
But the advantage you get from it, obviously, is the actual 61 megapixel sensor that's actually inherited really from the a7R IV.
Yeah.
Right. So the sensor is still the same, but they've done a lot of work with the AI. So the AI is fantastic,
and the tracking, and obviously the tracking and the AI in video.
Yep.
Because this also does 8K as well. And obviously what the a7 IV can do, basically, and all that. But would I say that the AF is keeping up with, say, an A1? No. It's a bit laggy.
So it's still not as snappy as what you would get on the A1.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, after all, the A1 is still the flagship, you know, and it's actually got the chipset it's got a bit more oomph in the A1, and also the its responses because of the dual stack sensor on the A1. You don't have a dual stack sensor, unfortunately, on the a7R5.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you are looking for that, then you'll have to either wait or go for the A1 or the A9 series cameras.
Yeah. Look, I had no trouble shooting birds with this, but don't expect what you can get from the A1 because of the frame rate, obviously.
Yep.
But you might get more hit shots at a slower frame rate with this, so you're going to have better hit shots, but nowhere near as the A1.
Okay.
Because of the speed and the processing and so forth. We're pushing larger, another 10 10 megabyte
Yeah, so
megapixels.
It's labouring a lot harder to actually get some resolution onto the megapixels.
Yeah, and depending on your settings and that too, what you've got your settings on. But also too, you've got to remind you that, you know, if you're doing birds in flight, you want to be shooting in wide tracking. But if you're shooting in the bush area, like something like this, you want to go back to like a multi-focus point.
Yeah, like a focus point where so you actually got accurate focusing.
Yeah.
Now, when I look at this camera, I sort of, every time I look at it, I think of the a7 IV just simply out of the reasons, because you actually got the switch over from photography to video. You actually got that switch now. You've also got the recording button is on the top.
Yep.
There are ergonomics as such. I mean, it's holding it will be very, very similar to the a7 IV.
Yeah.
And the ergonomics are really nice, even though, I mean, they've still got the lugs on the side, but they are sort of like...
Your pet peeve.
Yeah, my pet peeve. But the strap lugs are now soundless, and they've actually got sort of like a plastic around it, so it actually stops the rattling noise that you would have gotten in the
only thing I don't like about it, because see how you guys may not actually see it, but where
I'll bring it up in a cut-out frame.
But it actually hangs over the door.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So when you go to, even though the door is sliding out.
Oh, so the card slot door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can just sort of see that.
But if you imagine if you had a strap on that, that'd get in the way.
Yeah.
But it's not like if you're actually out in the field and you're going to be opening the door anyway.
I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem.
Not a real big issue. But I believe we could get rid of these. And
have them inbuilt. Yeah.
Like if you're holding like that, that's, you know, but everybody knows about this.
Yeah, look, I mean, the main reason why I would like the lugs to be inserted, like indented instead of being on the outside, is because if you have that, you can actually lie it on the ground and it will actually be level. With the pin out, it will not be level, and you can't actually do a portrait picture landscape on the ground or anything like that. You can't sit it on a table. There's no flat surface. But the other point that I like about this camera is also the actual feel of it. It feels solid. It's got the full magnesium body, obviously,
and the weather sealings and stuff like that.
It's got the locking switches apart from the front dial. The front dial does not actually have a lock.
No.
So that's interesting. So sorry, that's a rear dial, I should say.
Yeah.
That's interesting because it doesn't lock up, and neither does the front one. But look, I mean, that's what you really want, because you want fast action there.
Yeah.
The battery is obviously still the same, and I had a quick look at the door. The door is very much the same as the a7 IV, and there's still that little pet peeve that I've got, because you've got to put your nail in there to actually open it up and take it off. So you can put a battery grip in there.
Yeah.
And all that,
or dummy battery, whatever to say. Yeah.
And talking about the battery grip is going to be compatible with the A1 and the a7 IV. They all got the same battery grip.
And the A9.
And the A9, the A9 too.
Yes. Yeah. But it's built like a shit house. It's not exactly light. I can't remember the specs of the weight, but it does feel a bit heavier than the a7 IV. R4, sorry. But other than that, it's definitely a truly well made body. It feels rugged in the hand. So you feel, but for me it feels a bit, when I'm doing birding with it lately, I've been shooting with the 200, 600, it just felt much more heavier than I'm used to my a7 III. Total different body and everything as well. So I can feel the difference between those two cameras. But it's been a while since I had I've shoot with the 4. So I just feel that the thickness from the front to the back is a bit more thicker, another 5mm thicker between there.
Maybe because there was some internal metal construction to actually, the heat plates are in here to actually get the heat down.
Yeah.
And as you said, with video, it still gets warm.
Yep.
Is that correct?
It
So
still
it
gets
does
warm.
warm up, but you haven't had any overheating problems or anything like that?
No.
And we're still, we're in summer now, so...
But even still gets pretty warm when you're just shooting off pictures and that too.
Yeah.
But we spoke about this as well. If you're doing video, you pull your back screen out anyway and let that vent out from the back of the screen.
Yeah, you let it vent out, yeah.
Especially if you're doing 8K video, if you're doing that. So you're going to definitely feel that.
Yeah, I mean, this is all, even the plugs on the side, the inputs are all very much the same. You got full HDMI, you got headphone and recording microphone in.
Yep.
And then you got a USB-C, and you got a
the old multi
USB micro A.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know why they got that one still in it.
It's still there.
But the other thing is, I was very surprised to see that they still got the sync port for the
the
flash.
sync port is still there for the flash. And that's something that's not really used, but I've never seen anyone using it. So I guess Sony finds it important to still have it. So
maybe to the older guys that do studio and they got the older style flash units that they sync up.
Maybe it's a hard set eggs that actually really want to have this. But look, I mean, it's all there. I mean, you don't have to use it if you don't want it. It's there. It's the same thing with flip screen. A lot of people didn't want a flip screen and they were happy with what they had. They sort of hate the flip screen at times, but the good thing about a flip screen is that you can actually flip it backwards, so you actually got a screen protection on the back.
Especially if it's in your bag and, you
bring it around and there it is, and you can just use it like you would have used your traditional Sony, the old Sony.
But I had to say, but I'm expecting this U screen to be on any U camera to be coming out.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the direction Sony should go.
Yeah.
The LCD with the flip out and everything involved should always be on every camera now.
Yeah.
Like it's a no-brainer. It really makes a lot of sense to actually have it, and it's fantastic to have it. The other point that I'm trying to make also is the menu inside is very legible, and it's very interesting to actually go through it. It's not the best menu system there is in the world, but it's been vastly improved over the previous generation cameras, like the a7rv and A9, etc., etc.
But I do like the new menu that comes out whatever mode you're on, and you'll get that from here. That menu there.
Yep.
I don't know if we go into that, and you can point it around and show. Yeah,
it's you're not going to really pick that up, but I'll put that in as an insert so you can actually see what it looks like. The major point of all this is also that this screen is
fully touch.
Fully touch now, so you can actually shoot and take pictures on touch.
Yep.
So it's fully weaponized now, guys, and
instead of using the dials, going through the dials, you're much easier to touch. I find with the dials that you can easily just go past the point where you want it to go to.
Yep.
So you just touch the screen and you'll go definitely where you want to go.
And it's a fairly good, positive touchscreen. So it's reminiscent to like a smartphone sort of style touch. The other point also is that overall, the camera on the outside is not really the biggest story that we've got, is it?
No.
It's more the inner workings of it, the AI that we are now talking about, the recognition programs that they've got now installed. It's a learning program. So if the more things you take pictures of, like cars, etc., the more it will start recognizing that and actually learning. It's a learning program, so it's a very.
But there's a lot of people sort of getting confused by that. are thinking it's like a bit like the internet. You know, it's not connected to the internet, and it's not actually learning anything. It's actually, everything's actually in that chip.
Yep.
And it's just learning what going through its data base in the chip and recognizing, okay, that I know what that is now.
Yep.
It may not happen straight up when you point the camera. It might take a few shots till it actually, oh, I know what that is, a bird, or this human, or whatever it is that you may be shooting at. So yeah.
So now you've also got the option of going small raw, and you can sort of like, you don't have to use the whole 61 megapixel large file size. You can actually go down to smaller file sizes if you want, and yet come walking out with a high professional camera. And you can actually do all your high-end landscape photos that you really want to put effort into. Go the full 61, go the full raw, and you'll be happily ever after.
So, you know, weddings, photography scenario, you can choose the medium for all the main shots, because you don't need 61 megapixels.
Yeah, you don't need that craziness.
But when it comes to the formal shooting, like the actual portrait size, if you've got that hero shot, then you've got the option to go, okay, I want full size.
True. I mean, so, I owned the a7rv, and that was always my pet peeve, you know, like when I do model photography or something like that, you know, like fashion photography, having a 61 megapixel camera was always a bit of a, it's a big hurdle, because it's actually a large file size.
Yeah, and it slows your editing.
I mean, you want to send all that out to your editor. It becomes a big problem for them, because they don't want to handle big large file sizes like that. You know, so
especially you're editing in the States. You don't want to send those big files.
No.
They don't want big files. So
I mean, you would put the pictures in, like Dropbox, and just send them off. You know, like I mean, that's, you know, in a smaller file size, it's not a big problem. But if you've got 61 megapixels, which they relate down to somewhere around, I mean, give or take somewhere around 50 to 60 megabytes per picture. And that's you know, like when you're talking about 1,000 pictures, that becomes fairly substantial to send out via the Dropbox or via the cloud, etc.
And you know how the a7 IV, when you go to edit, depending on what sort of computer, if your computer was up to date or what software you're using, I've noticed like your editing time slows down, because your computer's got to work all those files, and every time you change something. But I can tell you now, what I've seen on Capture One 23, the latest Capture One, this does not slow down at all in Capture One. So whatever you change globally, or your masking, or whatever.
So it's a perfect camera for editing as well.
And that's at full resolution. I haven't shot in uncompressed RAW yet, so I don't really need to go into that. Even though that I use my a7 III, and I use uncompressed RAW on that, because it gives me a lot.
I'm sure we're going to find an opportunity after the shooting that we're going to be tearing through this camera while we've still got it on our hands. The other point also is, we're talking about the hot shoe cover. When Brett showed me this was actually interesting. The hot shoe cover, the plastic piece for the hot shoe is now like a positive click in. So when you want to pull it out, you'll feel there's
sort of like a resistance.
You've
got to use your nail on that little lever there, and then you feel it. It'll click out and in. It's not like with the older cameras where they used to fall out by themselves and you end up losing them. Remember? Those days?
So through wear and tear, they would actually just fall out eventually.
So it is a positive thing that they're not going to come out.
So it's just that little bit of an improvement. I mean, let's face it, the hot shoe cover is still not the best solution. We have still got an interest in Sony maybe coming up with a better idea in their next cameras, but this is what we have to live with at the moment. And I mean, it's not a big problem. but it clips in definitely positively, and it's harder to get out, so it's a good thing.
And we've still got the same eyepiece. It's actually a lot thinner than the previous cameras. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
The eyepiece. So with the little rubber.
So the eye relief.
Yeah.
Is the rubber eye relief?
Yeah.
Is,
it's actually a bit smaller.
It's a bit smaller.
But to be honest, I would actually like to see an eyepiece and the Evf extend out more, at least this far.
Yeah.
At least another 15 mil away from the back of your screen.
Yeah.
If you're like me, I don't shoot with this eye. I shoot with this eye and my nose.
Your left eye, yeah.
And my nose is always touching the screen, so I've got to turn the touch screen off. Otherwise, your focus point's going
otherwise
all over
it starts moving all over the place. Yeah.
As much as I tried to use this eye, I can't. This is my good eye. So I like to see improvement on that, and they extend that out a bit more, because I noticed on the Canons, they do that. They extend their at least that much.
The Canon cameras are really positively sticking out much more.
Yeah.
And it's. I mean, if you own a Sony camera, you always see the smudge marks on your monitor on your LCDs.
That's right. Yeah. But then again, now that it flips out, you know, but I don't actually have this flip out when I'm doing stills. So I'm back in. I'm back in this mode, the old way.
Yep, the old way.
But for video, yeah, sure. Then you can film yourself, and you know, you can see things or whatever. But also too, having this screen, going back to the screen, now that you can turn this around, and if you're doing a vertical but it's up high, you can tilt the screen wherever you want.
It's very nice to actually have that solution. You know, it's very versatile for whatever angle you want to have that monitor.
Yeah.
That LCD. Now, the thing that I would like to see in the future, I would like to talk about that.
Yeah.
Is, you know, like the advances that Sony has done are in the body and their eyes, and the point is that it's still got the mechanical shutter in it, and it's not dual stacked sensor. Now, if Sony is listening, if there could be a way of actually creating something like this, like a camera, even if it was something like maybe 33 megapixels like the a7rv, and yet put everything in what this camera has without a mechanical shutter perhaps. I think that would be a perfect camera almost.
I think in a couple of years' time you may just see that happen. I could be wrong, but have you ever noticed every time an the A7, and I'm talking the A7 III, A7 IV, it comes out, it's the very first camera that actually comes out with something before the flagship comes out.
Yeah.
So you notice that? So I got a feeling maybe in the next 3 years, or 2 years, the A7 V might come out with a whole different thing again. Because you'll start to see like the screens and the AF tracking and all that features, and that now will start to move on to the other cameras and so forth. So
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, every time, most of the time, should we say, when Sony brings out a camera, it is another step of an advancement, and it's a mutation that Sony is slowly going through, and they're slowly listening to the public, but we are still waiting for the further advancements yet. However, if you really want a good camera and you are in this kind of budget, what we're talking about, a $5,000 roughly plus camera here. If you are in that kind of budget, you're looking for a great camera, an all-around camera that can do everything well, then I would turn around and say the a7rv could be on your list of cameras to get. There's also the a7 IV, obviously.
Yep.
But you know, then you're limited down to 33 megapixels, whereby the a7R5 has got 61 megapixels. So, what would you say as a landscape photographer about this camera? What would you think about this?
If I was doing my landscape photography more than anything else, I think I would go for the R5. And it still suits me for everything else that I do. Studio, it could be weddings, it could be portraiture and all that, because I can choose the size that I want.
Yeah.
But this is the highest resolution you can go, 61 megapixels. So that is ideal for me. But overall, because I do birding, I would like the speed as well.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be a sports photographer or a bird photographer, I think the A1 would be the way to go.
I mean, the A1 has still got, what, 51 megapixels, so you're only missing out maybe 10 megapixels, and it's, you know, when you're in that range, will it really matter that much? I mean, that is really up to you guys to decide whether or not this camera is the right one or the A1 is the right one.
But if you're doing video of birds, the R will be better, because you've got the eye tracking and focusing in video with the R. And I don't think the A1, no, the A1 doesn't have that.
Yeah, the R4 has got it, and now
the R4,
R5
but
has
the
got
A1.
It. The A7 IV has got it. The R5 has got it. The A1 is missing, lacking it, unfortunately, that the video eye tracking. But look, overall, there are so many varieties of cameras now and choices that Sony has got and laid out there. It's I mean, other manufacturers as well, like Canon and Nikon, they're all working towards giving everyone a large choice of cameras to get and which camera to get. Look, in the end of the day, every camera will take certain, they will be capable of taking pictures, no matter what you do. But for one to do something well, like bird in flight, you want something maybe like an A1 that's actually got a dual stack that can actually react a lot faster. However, I've seen this camera, and it's for a 61 megapixel camera, non-dual stack camera. It's a very fast focusing camera as well.
It's no slouch, but it's not going to compete with the A1.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, you know, it's just really, you got to really do your homework, and you got to look at the price options and all the features that you want. So you really need to hone in. Ask yourself the questions: what are you shooting? What's the maximum frame shutter that you want? Or your video features and that IAF and video or stills and that. Are you primarily still? Are you primarily video? Obviously, yes. The a7S3 is dedicated video, or the FX30 and the FX6, but this can do like 8K as well. It can do all the features of the a7 IV, but like you said, the a7 IV is more the all-rounder camera. It can do everything. Maybe not to the speeds of the A1 or A9 and the resolution of the R series, but it can do it. So there's some cameras you can buy and get away with and do without. But when you're going into R series, the A1 and an A9, they're all your pro feature cameras, and they all got their set pro features of each camera. So you really need to sit down and jot down what you need out of the camera and go through the specs.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about, like, if you go out and purchase an A1 camera, and then you are thinking about getting a lens, with the a7R5, you'll probably get the lens and the camera body for what the A1 is worth. So you can start seeing where people are sort of like juggling balls, basically, where you actually are thinking, well, you know, for that money I go out and buy the a7rv or maybe the a7 IV and then get myself a nice lens. So that way you are covered. And usually in the shops, when you go to retailers, etc., they might even give you a curveball and they'll throw in a spare battery or something. Now, this camera, does it actually come with a battery charger? Yeah, we'll see that.
Yep. I don't know, to be honest. Sorry, because like I just got given this.
Okay, I think we'll leave that out.
So, I suspect with an R, you would get the battery charger. But you still get the little brick and USB and charge in there as well.
Yeah.
I know the a7rv didn't come with a battery charger.
Yeah, neither did the a7 IV.
Yeah, you didn't?
Didn't come with.
Oh, okay. I'm very surprised.
Because I got the A9.
Yeah.
I'm using that charger.
Yeah, so am I.
So,
yeah, but I don't think that's the real big issue. It's a bit pricey if you're buying a Sony one, but if you're buying something like a Jupiter, it's much more cheaper, and they do the same thing.
Jupiter batteries,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah, Jupiter battery, yeah.
And then obviously there is the conversation about a card. You would have to have an SD card or a CFA card. So you need to work that into your budget and really see which camera.
So I'm using tough 64 gigabyte.
Yeah, the Sony Tough cards. Yeah.
Yeah, for this camera, and when I format the card, I'm getting out of full RAW, 61 megapixel. I'm getting about 880 shots on that card.
Yeah.
So if you're one of those people who are going to rattle off a lot of images, I would suggest for like a 128 or higher.
And as we said, you've got to continuously think about your budget and continuously think about, okay, I need that, and then maybe I need a tripod, etc., etc. So I'm talking about people that are actually starting off new. You always want to make sure that your budget will stretch out for the extra little bits and pieces that you'll eventually need, like a camera strap, etc. Okay. With that, guys, we've got to cut it short because we've got one camera here that can only do half an hour with the a7 III, so we've got to cut it. But thank you very much for coming in and having a look at what we've got to say about the a7rv, and if you're interested, we can give it a good recommendation anyway. So go there and get one and enjoy your photography. So thank you very much, Brett.
No problem.
And see you all
next time. Go around and do some more shooting in this beautiful. Oh, by the way, we're here at the Botanical Gardens in Tambourine Mountain, Queensland, Australia. Yeah,
it's a beautiful day too, actually. So it's a nice, cool day for a change. We've had some hot days. Okay, Brett. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and you guys keep on shooting.